Evening, everyone. Welcome to the Fitchburg Municipal Airport Commission meeting for December 18th. It's 6:03. Thank you all for coming. I want to recognize the members here in attendance. To my far left, Eric Takal, and to my left, Paul Hathaway, and to my far right is Rich Liberatore, and myself, the chairman, Clayton Raymond. Also, we have Peter Kettle, airport manager. And in the audience this evening, Matt Karen is with us from Gale Associates, and a couple other gentlemen I don't recognize, but I'm sure will be introduced.
The first one's Bob Montana. He's the vice president of Rocking Horse Enterprises.
Okay, Bob Montana from Rocking Horse Enterprises. Thank you very much. Thanks for coming, everyone. All right, let's get to it by reviewing last month's minutes. I'm looking for an approval, motion, and a second.
Motion to approve.
Seconded.
Aye.
Aye.
4-0, motion to approve. Action items. First item on the agenda is correspondence to the commission. I have a no here. Is there anything from?
There's just one on there, and the action is for you, sir.
Okay.
It was correspondence to the commission, reference the U.S. Census Bureau.
Yep. Yep, I have it. I'm going to be talking to Matt Karen later on this evening just to make sure I get that thing accurate. They're basically looking for next year's construction projects, right. Dollar amounts, when we think we might begin or end.
Okay. And the rest will be covered on the agenda.
Okay. Thanks, Peter. Item 2, review of ongoing work. Matt Karen and Gale Associates.
Okay. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the Fitchburg Airport Commission, Matt Karen with Gale Associates for the recording. So I did hand out a packet this evening. I hope you all have it in front of you. A couple projects that Gale Associates is administering on behalf of the Airport Commission. The first one, which is on page 1, is the Environmental Assessment and Wildlife Hazard Assessment Project. That draft final Wildlife Hazard Management Plan was provided to the FAA and MassDOT, responding to their comments on November 22nd, 2024. The FAA and MassDOT approved the Wildlife Hazard Management Plan on November 26, 2024. So that document, that project is complete. This project will be removed from the monthly update moving forward. Just execute the closeout report once that's received if it hasn't already been sent over. Mr. Chairman, you're great on signing all the DocuSigns that we send over, and I know Jackie's been coordinating that stuff with you, so yep. I appreciate that.
No problem. Thank you.
On page 2, there's the design and permitting for the main apron reconstruction project. So Gale Associates addressed the comments received from MassDOT on the preliminary geometry plan. A revised plan was sent to the FAA and MassDOT on December 10th. There's a scheduled meeting tomorrow. Airport Manager Peter Kettle, I know, is attending that meeting to further discuss the preliminary geometric design with MassDOT and FAA. There's no requirements or any needed information from, no actions required from the Airport Commission this evening. But if there's any questions on that project, I'd be happy to answer them. And seeing none, I'll move on to the Groove Seal and Remark Apron project, Groove Seal and Remark Runway project.
I just have one question. Can you characterize the comments received from MassDOT on the preliminary design that caused the?
Yeah, so what we're looking at is removing certain area of pavement and some tie downs and just reconfiguring that apron. Yeah. And so they just generally coincided with that. There was, I think, another comment where MassDOT had requested the TOFA and the object-free area from the fuel farm. I don't know if there was anything.
There was a couple of other things. The unnamed taxiway and the unnamed taxi lane, they go down to 25
feet instead
of what they currently are, which is maybe 90 feet. So
Some of them are pretty significant out there, yeah. They're non-standard in terms of like FAA geometric requirements. And so that's part of the discussion tomorrow to make sure that we have everything the way that the agencies are looking for and we have it correct.
Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome. The Groove Seal and Remark Runway project, that one is closed out. Final payment was received, and we're going to be removing that project from the update moving forward. And the last project that I have, or second to last project that I have on here, which is probably the most significant and which makes up the bulk of Gale's update this evening, is the design and installed wildlife fencing. We had received comments back from FAA and MassDOT on the scope of services, which is pretty typical. So what we do is we prepare a draft scope of work, coordinate with the airport manager, the agencies, make sure that we've captured the project in full, what everyone's looking for. In this case, it's approximately, I think it's like 16,500 linear feet of fencing. So there's going to be some new fencing at the airport and replacement of the existing fence. All of the fencing and the work that we're doing is a result of the Wildlife Hazard Management Plan, environmental assessment work that we've done, the airport master plan process that we went through. Commissioner Hathaway, I'm not sure if you were, I don't believe you were part of the master plan project. You may have come on towards the tail end of that.
Towards the end of it.
So we're looking to fully enclose the airport, or to the extent that we can, with fencing and replace a lot of the old and damaged fencing in the gates that Peter's talked about in meetings past. And so that's what the scope of work is in the back of the package this evening. Mr. Chairman, I can take as long as you want and go through that, or briefly give you sort of the broad brush overview of what's included in that. Just as a reminder, once I will be looking for approval from the commission on this scope of work. Once we do get that approval, we do need to put a cost estimate together for it. That cost estimate does get reviewed by an independent fee estimator to make sure that we're in the ballpark of what the fee should be for that type of project. The FAA does require that IFE process. So we will be coming back to the commission once we have that project cost estimate, or that project cost value solidified for, again, formal approval on that. But what I am looking for is, just a approval on the scope of work, and maybe I'll just kind of walk you all through that if you don't mind.
Yes, give us a broad brush of the...
I won't read line by line, that's understood.
We're going to probably have a fair amount of questions.
Sure.
Okay.
Well, if you flip to the scope of work, which is towards after page 3 of Gale's update, it begins there. I'll flip over to that second page, which I apologize, there's no page numbers on it. But the first part, which is the field survey and measurement, this is pretty typical. Like I said, we're going to be looking to install and replace upwards of 16,500 linear feet of fencing. So, of course, there's survey work that's required and involved in doing that. Article B, which is the design, that's the preliminary 95 and final design. That's the process for us to get to a point where we put together preliminary fencing layout, final fencing layout, project phasing. There's fence and gate details that go into this. There's a couple slide gates that the airport's looking to replace. There might be a couple other gates that we may be looking per recommendations from the agencies and the airport on putting together. So there's some fence and gate details, as I had mentioned. We put together the quantity takeoff, the 95% plans. We prepare an engineer's estimate of cost. We essentially do the design of this fence so that we can get it to a point where we can bid the project out. Which you'll notice in a couple pages further along. Article C of the scope of work, that's the bidding and the arrangements for the construction. Again, we take our design, we put that out to bid for X number of weeks. We solicit bids from companies that have expertise in constructing this stuff. So that's what Article C is all about. Article D is the grant administration, so everything from preparing the financials, putting together the grant application, monitoring the grant status, the airport improvement program for the Federal Aviation Administration and the MassDOT share. Fiscal year 2025 projects are being funded at 95%. There's a state share of 2.5%. So we do administer both the FAA and the MassDOT grants. As I flip along, there's construction administration, which is Article E. That's the pre-construction conference. That's making sure that this project and the work complies with the disadvantaged business enterprise goals of the airport, processing shop drawings, things of that nature, essentially observing and monitoring the work of the contractor for the type of projects that's upcoming. Let's see here. There's the technical observation of construction. That's where, similar to like the runway reconstruction project or the groove and seal, our in-house engineers are on site in the field, observing the work of the contractor, making sure that the work's being done according to the plans and specifications. So that's the technical observation. Article G, which is the permitting. This is making sure that we are submitting notice of intent applications to both the Fitchburg and Leominster Conservation Commissions. This fence is running within the buffers of wetlands. As you guys all know, the airport lies in close proximity to Leominster, so unfortunately for you all, there's 2 conservation commissions that we need to deal with. That's where the environmental permitting comes into place. And then I think that is pretty much it. Ends there, yeah, Article G, environmental permitting. So I know that's a lot, probably pretty quick. I'm happy to answer some detailed questions if you do have them on this project.
Yeah, I'll start. So this fence is going to be a 10-foot fence similar to some of the fencing that we have down near the administration building now?
That's correct, and there's recommendations for 3-strand barbed wire as well as part of the wildlife hazard management plan and assessment. The recommendation to keep animals and stuff out, particularly along the river, there's going to be barbed wire. Yep.
Okay. So some of the fencing is going to remain. Does the fencing that we already have conform, the new 10-foot fencing?
That stuff does. There's a plan, I don't know, maybe 5 pages from the last page. So yeah, I think, part of the process, Mr. Chairman, is to do an inventory of that existing fence and see what's good, what is not good. That fence is pretty old. If you've ever been out there, in a lot of areas, there's a lot of just like vegetation that has since like grown through it, which is obviously problematic, and it's deteriorated the fence. So that stuff will be replaced, with that 10-foot fencing.
Mr. Chairman, I don't believe we've got any 10-foot fencing on the airport currently. There's nothing that's 10 feet.
Really?
No.
Yeah.
Well, what about the stuff in the terminal? I mean, that stuff's brand new, so that is not being replaced. That's only 8 feet? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And basically,
most of it's what, 6 and 4 feet
it's
in a lot of instances.
Yeah, the other stuff.
Yeah.
Right. It really is.
Yeah.
But, as far as I'm aware, there's nothing on 10 feet at the moment. And I guess that's why there's 3 miles of fencing that's got to be put up. 16,000 feet is about 3 miles of fencing.
Yeah, and we did inventory that as part of the master plan project too. I know that there was a fencing section. I'll go back and take a look at that, but it would be in there too. I think we described areas of fencing height.
I believe it's only gone up to 10 feet recently, because when the previous director of MassDevelopment was there, he made us put one 8-foot fence up about 20 yards long, where the rest was 6 feet, and it just looked so ridiculous. It really did.
Yeah.
And you see that on Crawford Street as you go by. There's this high piece, but it's going to be another 2 feet higher than that. Yeah. So.
Yeah, it's a little hard to comprehend why somebody that can go over an 8-foot fence can't go over a 10-foot fence.
Well, they say they can. That's why the barbed wire at the top now.
Oh.
So. That's been part of the discussions with the FAA.
Correct.
But is it also for the deer, for example?
That's what it's for.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the wildlife.
They leap so high.
Unless you've got
6 feet they can do.
a champion that's going to try and do it to show his girlfriend or wife how good he is. I don't know, but
and underneath it, there's going to be like an apron. So for those burrowing creatures and animals that try and get in, there's the apron that goes down into the ground and underneath it as well.
Yeah, that's all I thought of while you were.
I just have one question, Matt.
Yeah,
please.
sure.
The main gate, gate 11,
Yeah,
that is going to be replaced, right?
I don't know.
It's not
So-
10 feet.
That is not 10 feet. I mean, that's part of the discussions we're having, and tomorrow we can bring that up too and discuss that with MassDOT and
Because
FAA.
of the new development on the airport,
Yep.
the new hangars, I was hoping that we'd get gates, electronic gates down on Cobbler Drive as well for access to the new hangars.
Yep, I think that's a really good idea to do that, because as you start to get traffic going into those hangars, you don't want them necessarily crossing all the active movement areas. You want them coming in from Cobbler Lane. So I agree with that 100%. Whether or not the agencies have the funding to contribute towards that and agree with it, that's as you know, Peter, that's a different story.
Yeah, it is.
But we'll obviously push for it. You know that.
I do. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
Any commissioners comment? Or,
It's pretty thorough, thank you.
yeah, very thorough, as usual. Thanks, Matt.
Yeah, and of course.
So you're looking for a motion this evening to proceed with this scope of work?
Yeah, I'm looking, a vote to approve the final scope of services. What that's going to do is trigger us and working with Peter to, Peter will solicit the independent fee estimates so that we can start putting numbers to this and getting that process going. And then, like I said, once we have our final number, and assuming it's kosher with the IFE, we'll come back again to the commission for formal approval of our fee to move forward.
So the city's going to be responsible, did you say 2.5% or 5%?
So it's for fiscal year 2025, which is what we're in now. It's a 2.5% local share.
And what is the ballpark in which you think we'll have to outline?
I think it was about 1.7
It was like 1.7. It was a significant amount of money.
Yeah.
1.7 mil.
Yep, 16,500 linear feet. That's a lot of fencing in
Grand or something
some
like that?
funky terrain as well.
It's all about safety.
I understand. We're going to move forward with the scope of work. We really need to make sure we have 40 to 50 grand in our coffers, and more than likely it could be more.
I thought we already had the money set aside for that, for this project.
I don't know.
Not for this, no.
Not for the fencing?
No. No.
All right. Well, we made 30 grand last year at the airport.
37.
Ought to make another 30 this year.
Absolutely.
Or 40.
I'm confident.
Yeah. And this is the only project on our radar for this year, no, this coming year.
Yep, that is not currently funded, yes, because you have the Apron project, the design for that, which is already under contract, already funded by the agencies. That one is ongoing,
Yeah.
yes.
Rich, that's the one.
Okay, so I just wanted to clarify it
No.
for all of us and those in
Of course.
TV land. So, I'm a proponent of the fence for sure. So, I would I'm going to make a motion to move forward on the scope of work for the fencing project.
Seconded.
Can we have a vote, please?
Aye.
All right, Matt. All that paperwork had paid off. So.
Well, we've cut down a lot of trees, as you know, for our easement projects, so we had some lying around.
Yeah, you did, yeah.
Just one last thing under other items on page 3 of 3. This is the Medstar legal. As you recall, we had, on behalf of the city, recouped, I think it was like upwards of maybe 1.2 million, Peter, if I'm not mistaken, in legal fees, in Gale fees from the FAA and MassDOT for that land acquisition project that had that lawsuit associated with it. So we did prepare the closeout report that was finalized. We sent that to FAA and MassDOT on December 5th, 2024, which included the reimbursement request for that. So at some point in hopefully the next few weeks, you'll be seeing that coming back to the city, which is great, which is huge for you guys.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. No, thanks for that work on.
No, you're welcome.
It's unfortunate, but it happens. Thank you, Matt.
You're welcome. That's all I have. So unless there's any other questions, I appreciate the vote this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Looking good,
Thank
Matt.
you.
Thank you. Item 3, new business. We have just 2 items. Mary Jo, you're up.
Mary Jo Bohart, Economic Development Director with the city. And I just wanted to inform the commissioners, some of you may already know, but just the general public as well, some good news. Just before your last month's meeting, we learned, the city was informed by MassDevelopment that $250,000 worth of additional site readiness grant funding has been awarded to support utilities-related improvements for the larger, I call it the 14-acre parcel. But when you think of the non-aviation pieces of land, there's the smaller pad site, if you want to call it that, where you, near the administration building, you're seeking to have a restaurant put there. There's the commercial strip, or it's actually industrially zoned, but the strip of land along Crawford, and then the larger tract. And so MassDevelopment in their site readiness, this is a program you all know well, because they've supported different aspects of what's been looked at for the airport, and they concern themselves with larger tracts, which is why it's dedicated to the 14-acre tract, not to the smaller pieces. But the good news is we were aware, as we were starting to think about requests for proposals to get development on the non-aviation lands, that the lack of utilities or improvements related to utilities was possibly going to be a deterrent to some proposers. And so this is great information to be able to share when we put an RFP out. The one thing I also wanted to put into context, we requested $500,000 in site readiness. We got $250,000. That's not unusual. You can't always get exactly what you were asking for. It's not that MassDevelopment didn't see that this is a worthy site for redevelopment. It was more that site readiness as a program got 8 times the amount of applicants as there were funds to be allotted. So I guess it's one way of looking at it. It was a very competitive grant funding round, and we were fortunate to get $250,000. So that's great. We had an initial meeting, just a very initial meeting, with our contact person at MassDevelopment related to this new site readiness grant. And we explained that you all are preparing and getting ready to offer up these different areas of the non-aviation lands, particularly that 14-acre tract for redevelopment through an RFP process for long-term land lease. And we asked, would it be possible for the utilities-related engineering work to be, rather than us embarking on it, we can certainly do that. We could procure an engineering firm and kind of launch into that, but it might be more meaningful to include it as a sweetener, as an incentive of sorts, because what we wouldn't want to do is go through any design work kind of speculating how might the site get laid out, where might buildings go. You don't entirely know that until you get your proposal responses. So the good news was MassDevelopment is amenable to holding off. We, the city, you all, could hold off on embarking on procuring an engineering consultant and instead offer that $250 worth of engineering services as an incentive to the redevelopers that would propose on that larger tract. Here's the catch: timing. MassDevelopment can't have a grant award like this kind of floating out in space for a prolonged period of time, because each year they're doing more site readiness grant awards. So we were given, she asked, how soon do you think the RFP for that larger tract might go out? And we were fairly optimistic, based on all the work that you all have been doing, working with the purchasing department and community development and so on, that within the first few months of 2025, perhaps the tail end of the winter, that larger tract will, maybe sooner, that larger tract would go out through an RFP process. And if for some reason The proposal responses from that round of RFPs don't necessarily render someone who you all feel is the one or ready to go. We could always go to Plan B, which is procuring the engineering services and doing some work. So it doesn't mean we're foregoing that option, but we at least have enough time to give a try by using it as a developer incentive. And so I just wanted to throw that out there. There is good news in that the funding was secured, and that MassDevelopment, through funding this round of site readiness, in my opinion, is showing that they really see the value of what you all have been doing at the airport and the potential for this non-aviation development to occur at the airport.
That's a lucky break for us.
Yeah.
We can include it as an incentive in the RFP. It has value. It has $250,000
Sure.
of value,
Sure.
Maybe it'll only pay for the engineering, but it's a lot of money.
It also might impress or attract some those that are thinking to propose on that RFP that the Commonwealth has taken an interest in seeing that site come to fruition. I mean, it's another, you're working very hard. We, the city, and also even the Commonwealth, find that to be an important tract of land for redevelopment. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with you all, and we can certainly, you'll be working closely, with Peter and with you as commissioners as that RFP for the larger tract gets ready to be put out. And I don't need to repeat what you all have discussed at prior meetings, and Peter may even be discussing in a little bit under later in the agenda, but we did learn something from that first, I don't even want to call it an attempt, but that first round of kind of putting the lands out. And I say lands plural because there were the three different tracts, if you will. And it sounds like lesson learned was focus on each one specifically. And so when people are thinking of proposing to do a pad site restaurant, that's a certain type of redeveloper versus someone that might do an industrial manufacturing building. So anyhow, with that said, I'm very excited, not to segue from one topic to another, but very excited about the first of those RFPs that has been under preparation. So thank you.
Good job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Jo. Appreciate that. No, that's good news.
That's excellent news. Could I just add a comment, please? First of all, Mary Jo, thank you very much. I'd just like to remind the Commission, just in case you've forgotten, that there's a special team set up for doing this, for both the restaurant and also the area that Mary Jo's talking about. And we have meetings whenever it's necessary. And we've just had another one that you will hear of when we get to item old business B, 4B. Okay?
Yep. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you, Peter.
Okay, so we're going to move on from that agenda item now. Yeah. All right, item B, Weir, Griffith. Sounds like a couple gentlemen from Nashua?
It does.
Yeah.
It does. Weir and Griffith came to see me just after the last commission meeting that we had, and they brought some drawings with them. The drawings that were actually the instigator of them building 5 hangars at Manchester Airport. Well, Manchester Airport have gone back to them saying, we don't want you here anymore. So they've got these 5 hangars that they really don't want to release. So they came to the airport to ask if they could build those 5 hangars, take them down from Manchester and bring them to Fitchburg. So that's the first drawing that they gave me. And then I got the engineering drawing from them showing the 5 hangars. So looking at the actual size of the hangar, from what I've just given out to you all, you'll see that in yellow on that document I've just passed you, that's an ideal site for those 5 hangars to go. It is close to the wetlands, so obviously that would have to be considered. And I believe Matt, maybe Gale should be involved in that, and I've already told the people concerned. I see he's busy at the moment. He's not listening.
I'm listening.
Oh, okay. Excellent. Excellent. So this large area of land, there's only one problem with it. And if you look at like the yellow dot, that's the second one up, just off the middle, That is a fire hydrant. It's right in the centre of the building. So I've already discussed this with the water department, and they should have come to see me last Tuesday, I think it was, and they had an emergency, so they didn't get, so it's planned in the future going forwards. So once that's taken care of, and they get in touch with our area that controls the wetlands, then we'll have to see what we can do. Well, that's just the first place. And if you come down the drawing, it's not actually shown, but you see the brown roof with all the lines on it. Mm-hmm. Next to that, there's a parcel of land that runs next to the ramp. And that is close to the wetlands as well, but that length is applicable to going into that area as well. The good news is that in both of these areas, you've got water and gas. So if they were heated hangars, there's a direct connection. There's no real engineering work to do. So they were really happy to hear this, and I just wanted your approval that, yes, you know, we should go ahead with this and let them do the work and see if they can come up with the answers.
So is this hangar typical for piston aircraft, or is it jet?
You could get a TBM in there or something like that, like Paul's got, you know, or a small Vision Jet, something like that. They're large. There's one large hangar, and then 4 at the moment that they're box hangars. They're not T hangars, so they're big hangars. Mm-hmm. You could get a reasonable size aircraft in there, but mainly I would say at the moment they've got 1 turbo in, which is the larger one, and then 4 smaller ones. So
Yeah, if you look at the aircraft at Twin City for scale, just mentally move those to the
Right.
polygon.
Yeah.
That gives you a sense of scale. Those are 172s.
Yeah, I just try to not mix turboprop or turbine
no.
with recip,
No.
and it would, to me, I'd rather see it on the right side of the hangar with the brown roof.
But you know, that's a beautiful area there that could be resurfaced. You could either come down to the left side of the brown roof and come through that way,
Yeah.
or come straight and take that fence down there and join the Twin City, coming straight through those 2 hangars 2 and 3 with the white sloped rounded roofs on.
So what are you asking the commission for this evening? To
Just
move forward with plans?
For them to actually continue and develop the site.
Well,
So a schematic.
do a provisional site
Right.
site plan review,
Right.
I guess, what you would call it in
Yeah.
planning terms.
Yeah.
So they're going to come to us with more data supporting the feasibility of that site.
Right.
And it would be utilities, it would be wetland, buffer zones. So it's really just the green light for them to go ahead and do the homework, to come back with something that we would then do a provisional site review on.
Right.
And then they'd come back with a fully developed plan, which would be site plan review.
Exactly. One thing I did say to them that, you know, that in the process is the first 30 of a 3-phase project going on, the first 30 T hangars that you're going to hear about in a minute. And they asked the price of those, and I told them, and I said, look, you should really consider, you're either going to take the hangars away and sell them to another airport, and you buy into the new ones that are going to be built. Because I think cost-wise, it's going to be less expensive for them to have 5 new hangars here than to lift that up, bring it over, do all the engineering work, and end up being more expensive than buying new ones.
What was the
Because-
response?
And they said, we didn't even think about that. We're going to go away and we're going to look at it.
Yeah.
But, you know, I didn't want to come to you in a month or 2's time and surprise you. These guys want to build 5 hangars. This is it. This is it. So now you know. And, you know, I'd just like to get your feel. We're trying to develop it. We're trying to make it even more beneficial to the city and the airport. And I just think this is another new opportunity to get more business at the airport.
What's the revenue from the hangar immediately adjacent to it? What is that purpose of that hangar? I forget, next to Twin City?
The one that's abutting right up to it?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Nothing.
No, that's an asbestos hangar. It's full of asbestos. We've got to take that down.
It's unfavorable building materials.
Right. So the intention is, a little bit later on in the year, to go, if these guys want to continue, the intention is to go to MassDOT and asked for an ASMP grant to get it removed.
Got it.
And they are good for doing those things because it's all about safety again, so.
I mean, it would be hard to get any other person to probably develop that land back there. So,
Unless you go all in and you're removing other hangars, that's the issue,
Yeah.
right? I mean, so do you end up with a piecemeal patchwork of new and old?
right.
Or do you bite the bullet at some point, and, these are quite old, this white building in particular here. At what point do they cease to be economically viable for a modern airplane due to birds and the roof?
Well, those roofs have got a 20-year warranty on them, Paul, so I envisage 20 years. I mean, Fitchburg Airport is in a very privileged position, I believe, because there's not many airports around here that have the land available for development.
Well, that's right.
like Fitchburg does.
Yeah.
And I mean, Matt can confirm that because he goes to a lot of airports around here.
Right.
We're very lucky to have, the area that we've got for development.
Well, I mean, I'm willing to take a look at their proposal for sure.
Yeah, so I'd make a motion that we approve the applicant or the interested party conducting this preliminary project or site plan review to determine the feasibility of using this particular area, and then to be reviewed at a later date by the commission.
Excellent.
Yeah, I mean, the worst thing that can happen is they'll have to build it somewhere else on the hangar,
There you go.
you know?
Yeah. On the airfield, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Oh, so I'll second it.
Yeah, we're going to, motion on the floor. Yeah, I agree.
Speaking on the motion,
Yes.
a project like this, what are we responsible for other than supplying the land? It looks like there's a lot of work
Yeah.
to get
That's all up to them.
this going. I mean, you're talking a cement pad
You are?
to build the 5 different hangars, 5 different sizes, I'm going to assume?
No, there's 4
All
the
the
same, but they said they can have 5 all the same. They'll just take one off. They're
Yeah.
even prepared to put 3 there. They just want to bring the hangar with them. So if it says that, there's not enough clearance between the hangars, then they'll just take one off and destroy that, and then just bring the smaller hangar unit. But I think at the end of the day, once they've done their mathematics and all their evaluation, I think it's going to be less expensive for them to buy the new hangars.
But we're just expecting them to come back with something like Matt's
Absolutely.
list of things that have to be done and
Yeah,
contingent on that.
yes.
Is this
we're not
where
committing to
Griffith,
No, there's no commitment from the airport at all.
Right.
where Griffith, are they the engineering firm? Are they the company that owns these hangars?
They own those hangars.
These are the people that own these hangars
own
in
the
Manchester? Okay.
There's a motion on the floor, and we're looking for a vote.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, we're back into old business now. Item A, FPA Land Lease Agreement. I don't see anybody here from the Fitchburg Pilots Association.
Daniel is not feeling well tonight, so he sends his regards.
Oh, okay. I'm going to bring up just a little bit on this. I did get a email from Daniel basically saying, they're pretty happy with the lease they signed 10 years ago and want to keep with that footprint. So I had a conversation with Peter earlier today about, I understand what they're talking about. They have a lease, they have square footage, they have area of 10% beyond their hangar. We don't know exactly where it is, but Peter's rebuttal is, and I agree with him, is the people that are using more space than they're paying for ought to be paying for it. So, as you guys recall from last week, we went over the 3 or 4 different spots around that hangar that they were using, such as people parking to the right of it, that's not their rented space, some vegetation in the back, that's not their rented space, the walkway from the hangar over to the parking lot is not rented space, and we kind of concluded that, you know, we understand all those items. You can't control where everybody parks and what have you, but the area in particular was the ramp space in front of their hangar, which, you know, they paved from the edge of their hangar to the edge of our taxiway, but are not paying for that space. I mean, and we plow it, but we don't get any rent from it. You know, and again, their position is, well, this is our lease, we signed it, and we're happy with that. We have to have a consensus between the commission as to how we're gonna either approach this and how we approach future hangar development as far as space around the hangar. We keep running into this. There's hangars with no buffer zone around them. They're not paying for that. There's hangars that are only paying for what the land that the actual hangar sits on. That becomes a problem when they want to repair the hangar. They set up staging on somebody else's property, and mainly ramp space in front of these hangars. I mean, we're plowing it, we're maintaining it, and they're not leasing it in some cases. So I'll take whatever feedback you guys have, but.
Well, I thought when we originally looked at the plan, the footprint that Peter had put out for us, we kind of agreed that that back section where they were doing their landscaping was forgiving.
Yes.
And that would work good in their favor. And it is kind of like a little bit of a dead spot, and it does add a little pizzazz to the side of their building. The walkway was 10 feet that we were discussing, that they had put pavers down, and it was a right-of-way that they needed to get into their hangar. Mm-hmm. It was questionable on that back section where they were parking, and Daniel did make note that his people were told not to park there.
Right.
So everyone knows that that is not their property. The gray area definitely is that front, and I agree 100% that we should, that should be figured into the footprint. It's just not the foundation and the cement pad that was poured and the walls of the structure put up. There's that little ramp that goes out to our taxiway that they're responsible for. And like Chair says, is we are maintaining that for them in the winter months. And when you look at properties, just in the city of Fitchburg, when you build your house, there's, on most properties, there's a buffer of 15 feet. And that gives you ample room to work on your house, or if you want to throw out a little extension or whatnot. But the law in the city was that the boundary from the foundation to the property line was no less than 15 feet. And we never brought that up in any kind of construction, any kind of reevaluating of agreements that, gee, should you really have a little bit of a buffer so you could maintain or work on your property? These guys have been here for a long time. They are very supportive of us, the airport. We're supportive of them for everything they do, the knowledge that they bring to the community. I'd be the first one to boast for them and give them the pat on the back on that. For me, it's that ramp coming out of their hangar to our taxiway. I think that area most definitely should be added to their agreement, and I don't know how that was not set up first on it, and I could look beyond that because of what they do and bring to the airport.
Yeah.
But I think when we reevaluate their land lease, that parcel leading out to the taxway should be added.
Wasn't there a 10% buffer that's included as part of that rate that is meant for?
They pay for 10% more than the actual land that the hangar is on.
Right.
Nobody knows exactly where that 10% actually lies.
Right, but that's the access to the structure, that we talked about that, right? That they
Yeah.
need to put up a ladder on the side of it.
Yeah, right.
That's accounting
Right.
for that. Now, how big is, I don't remember the exact amount, but how big is that apron, what do you call that, in front of between the actual pad and the
Their
taxiway?
Their ramp.
Ramp.
Ramp, yeah.
Peter had that diagram with A, B, C, and D, and I'm struggling to find it. I thought I had
Yeah.
it in the notes, but
I mean, the reason I brought this up tonight is not to specifically target that, but to make everyone aware that, you know, these people have a signed lease from 10 years ago. We can't change that lease.
can I propose?
But they're using space that isn't theirs, so how do we handle that?
Did we figure out
The way
how
I
much
handle it, I
extra
would
that
make
was?
sure next to lease, there is space for them to park. There is space
Yeah.
that they're paying for that's up from the ramp to the taxiway. I mean, because this, you know, this is just the beginning.
What do we calculate, the extra money that they would pay to come out from their doorway, from their threshold to the taxiway?
I think it was like $30 a month.
So on that note, I hate to tie two issues together. But
Go ahead.
Since we have the porta potty issue, and the FPA, in fact, have offered to share the burden of the cost of providing a porta potty, at least provisionally or notionally, can we consider that as an in-kind gesture that would cover this until the lease comes up for renewal? Because they're going to add, in my opinion, significant benefit or betterment of that ramp space in the airport by providing after-hours bathroom services, particularly in the summertime,
Yeah.
at cost to themselves.
Yeah, I did find that diagram, that area A on there, 60 feet by 12 feet, and it says that area is 720, but that's square footage, I guess. So based on the rate, what would
Yeah.
that be?
So Paul, you're saying the monies that they're going to spend for the after-hour facility between them and FACT, be supportive of letting them do that, and we were going to waiver the extra for the
I
ramp?
think you let sleeping, because their cost to do the bathroom, even if it's, say, $200 a month or less than that, I think that was the quotes were in that range.
Yeah.
That's 3 times what they would owe for this ramp.
Yep.
And I think so. If you go down this path and say we need an extra $35 a month out of you, a nonprofit, you're not going to get any participation on the bathroom issue, which is 3 times the contribution. And I suggest that we let sleeping dogs lie until the next time the lease is reviewed. Lesson learned: all leases have to have every inch accounted for plus buffer. But try to continue a good faith partnership with them and try to get this bathroom thing going.
I support that idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would work. Oh, everyone's
It's a
fine.
very generous offer. It'll bring great benefit to the airport. The first thing people do when they use the fuel farm is look around. And I think it'll help, not dramatically, but just drive some self-service fuel after hours when I got to go to the bathroom and I need fuel. All right, I know Fitchburg has a facility.
All right, so I'm going to table the subject until next month when Daniel can be here and
Sure.
whatever reps you want to bring with him. So thanks for your input on all of it. Appreciate it. Old business, item B, non-aviation land lease restaurant, RFP, request for proposal that we've been working on for quite some time.
There was a meeting approximately 2 weeks ago. And basically what's happening is that an advert is going to be placed in the Worcester Business Journal, and it's going to go in, I believe, on the 24th of January, Mary Jo. And that is just for the restaurant only. And then, you know, I don't think it's dependent upon that. The $250,000 that Mary Jo presented to us would follow that within a month or two after that, once the results have come in from the RFP for the restaurant. So that's ongoing. It's all planned. I believe, is it you that puts the advert in, Mary Jo? Yeah, it is. Excellent. Oh, sorry.
But the $250,000 is not for the restaurant plan.
No, it's not. That's why I said it would follow the restaurant. Right? Yeah, please.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
I may not have said it in my prior remarks earlier, but when MassDevelopment awarded that additional site readiness, the $250,000, it's really for that larger tract. That's just the nature of, that's what that program focuses on, is larger industrially zoned tracts of land. But the Worcester Business Journal ad, I believe it's a quarter-page ad. That's what Liz Murphy of our office had interacted with the representative of that publication to find out the pricing and that sort of thing. And there happens to be an issue that they're doing in the second half of January, which focuses on North Central Mass. So that's kind of, you know, each issue has a different theme to it. It just seemed like that's a handy issue for it to appear in. The other thing, which is not a given, but it likely would happen, it's not the only reason we're doing the ad, is they likely would also end up doing an article about you all and the land and the restaurant, you know, development aspirations that you have. Those types of articles live on long after the issue has been read. And so the ad is important because that gives you a certain type of exposure, but the ad in combination with an article, I think, is where you really start to, because that can be pushed out in a number of different channels, many sets of eyes, and so on. So I don't know if that answered your question, but I just wanted to add that clarification.
No, it does. It does. And then following that in January, maybe a couple of months later, the RFP for this could go out with the $250,000.
Yes.
I thought that's what I said at the start.
No problem.
All right.
Why can't any of that money be addressed to the restaurant?
Because it's
Because they're trying to attract a 14-acre industrial complex, hopefully for
size of
jobs
the
or
property.
whatever.
The nature of that program, which is a mass development agency program called Site Readiness, is for larger tracts of land, and large is 10 acres and bigger.
Right.
So we have a half an acre, approximately, about 20,000 square feet of the, I call it the pad site, but the site where the restaurant that you're seeking to attract. And that is not the kind of site or the kind of size of thing that this funding would ever be directed toward. Getting back to what I said earlier, it's a highly competitive program. We're very lucky to get the funding we got, but they focus on larger tracts of land. The reason is that agency is trying to unlock the development potential for industrially zoned tracts of land throughout the Commonwealth that are not yet reached their full potential. So that's their mission with that particular program.
Mary Jo, quick question. So the Worcester Business publication is a good target. Are we also targeting like the Massachusetts Restaurant Association and other sort of industry groups?
That's what struck me, because the Mass Restaurant Association, the trade agency or trade association for that industry in our state. There are ways that we can kind of get the word out through those channels, because we don't want to just rely on an advertisement thinking, oh, that's going to bring us, you know, because, you know, it takes many different methods to get the word out. And so it isn't necessarily an advertisement through Mass Restaurant Association, but reaching out to, and that's something that I can do and that we can make sure occurs, to find out what best way to reach their members, although not all their members are necessarily looking to launch another restaurant, although we all have heard of examples of someone has one, they end up with a restaurant group, they have multiple locations, you know, so.
Street. Elmer.
Oh, I'm sorry?
Elmer across the street.
Oh, of course, yes, yeah, exactly.
I mean, I
so,
think, you know, if you could If there was a way also to sort of broadcast an email to registered food service businesses
Exactly.
in Fitchburg and Leominster.
Exactly.
Must be on the tax rolls. We must have them categorized somehow by business owner group.
Sure, and
Way
keep
to
in mind,
email blast.
I mean, we know everyone who has a food permit. We the city, we know everyone who has a food permit.
Yeah.
What we probably want to do, and we learned this from our very first experience kind of doing that original, the first RFP a few months back, we have to think very broadly. It could be that whether it's the developer or the operator, they may not be from our immediate area, and that's fine. That's okay. So we're trying to cast our net very broadly, but I like your thinking, which is we don't want to overlook what's right in our midst either.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Thank you, Mary Jo.
Can I just add one?
Yes, go ahead,
please,
Peter.
If I may. Just to be clear, everybody on the commission, that $250,000 was for utilities. We've already got utilities right where the restaurant is.
Right.
That's why it's not used for the restaurant.
Yeah.
Okay? Thank you.
No problem.
I'm hoping for a really good Italian restaurant. Or Mexican, second choice
Should I
Mexican.
speak to Mike Mahoney?
Well,
Very clear.
that might be a disappointing no vote from Mr. Hathaway if it's Greek, huh?
Tavern in the Square Port.
Yeah, there you go.
Item C, terrain tower lights.
We are still waiting for a response from the FAA.
No way.
Yeah, we are. They said it could take up to 6 months. So I guess they're really busy. I keep on looking and
Well, they're,
no response.
they're looking at our fence. It's a lot to do.
Well, different department, so.
Yeah. All right, we'll cut them some slack.
All right.
Thank you, Peter. Item D is the old minimum standards. Paul and I are tackling that last month and this coming month. We should have some, at least a draft by next meeting.
Absolutely.
So thank you, Paul.
Thank you for your patience.
No problem. Item E, Rockin Horse Enterprise. There's no G on that. Should there be a G on that?
There is no G.
All right. Well, then it's spelled correctly then.
Put one in. Just give me a second to set up, please.
Sure. Good evening, gentlemen. My name is Bob Montana with Rockin' Horse Enterprises, and Peter has put together an excellent presentation for us in regards to building some new T-hangars at the airport.
It came and then it went. Oh, wow, it's just a blank presentation, as you can see.
Pittsburgh on 2 days ago.
Just to introduce Rocking Horse Enterprise to you. Oops, sorry, won't do that without this. Beg your pardon. Okay, now let's go. So Rocking Horse Enterprise is a construction company. They've been around quite a while. We're lucky to have Bob Montana here with us today. He's a pilot. He's just sold his aircraft, so he's looking for another aircraft on the airport. He is a tenant at the airport at the moment. His plane was in Hangar 3. So basically, if you all remember the airport master plan that was approved by the FAA last year, and I believe just before you came, Paul,
Yep.
the 3 red hangars at the top of the area that you see where the greens are, basically airport master plan doesn't have to go to exactly what's down there. It's just a principle that you must follow. So the idea is to put hangars in that particular area where the red ones are, and then through to where the green ones are, to the box hangars right at the front, close to 3214. So this was the first proposal that we sent to the FAA, and they came back and said, could you give us something a little bit more professional, please? But we just wanted to give them the idea of what we were doing. So after a little bit of manipulation, we put box hangers on, and we sent them this one. And they said, come on, guys. So this is what we end up sending. Okay, so you've got two box hangers at the top, and then 6, as you can see, individual hangers with 6 42-foot doors on them, and 4 48-foot doors on them. So we're catering for the larger planes like you've got, Paul, all right? So basically we can't build above the line that you can see there in black, because in April of every year, we always have Wings and Wheels. And Wings and Wheels brings us $4,000 for 2 days. So I requested Bob to start building or breaking ground on May the 1st, which Wings and Wheels are really happy with. They realize it may be the last time they're going to come to the airport. So basically, that is the second proposal that was put through. But I looked at this and I thought, well, you know what? There was a little bit of a problem with the T hangars that we currently have at the airport, because they face north-south. So the back hangars, when the sun comes over, the back hangars don't see any heat, which is going to be exactly the same as the ones that we have on the new. So what we did was turn them round. So now when the sun comes over, we have a beautiful situation where both sides of the hangars get the heat. So we're not going to have the problems that we have in the winter, which is, you know, really good for progressing. And when we actually made this presentation to 29 of the 39 that we sold. We've already sold 39 hangars of the 30 that we're going to build in the first phase. So we presented this last night and people were really pleased about that, obviously. So moving forwards, the current T hangars are still going to have the problem. So you're going to have to sell yours, Paul, and move over to one of the new ones.
Okay, good to know.
Okay? So basically, there were many iterations going backwards and forwards with the FAA to finally end up with these. And you can see not quite clear, so what I'm going to do is just make this a little bit larger. So they are the hangars as they're proposed. You can see we start at 60 because the current T hangars go to 57, and then we've got another 3 making it up to 60 where the FPA co-op is. So the first one's going to be 61 up to 91, I believe.
90, yeah.
Up to 90, okay? So that is what the proposal was. So we actually, we're being invaded now, look, as you can see, but I did this for a purpose. All of the utilities are going to be opposite each other, so making it very, very easy for anyone to get to any utility at any time. Whereas on the current T hangars on the ends, and there's quite a walk in certain instances to get to those utilities inside the hangars, okay? So a survey was done and a wetland area was identified just to the right-hand side of the top corner. And I believe that's because the terrain has sunk and all the water off the road actually comes down that little slope that we've got down there, creating a wet area around the back of the FPA co-op, which we know well aware of, okay? So what we did, we put a little trough down there and pointed it straight to where the drain is. And now we don't have that wet area. It was covering the whole of even where the X was at the beginning of last year, the beginning of this year, I beg your pardon. It was like a floodplain area. Now we've dried it all up, and that's been noted. I don't think it's going to cause us any concern. So if we look at the 6 hanger layout, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's a twin in there at the moment. Broken down, what Bob's done is taken away the ends of both ends on the top left-hand corner and the bottom right corner. So now you've got 2 large hangars, 1,428 square feet. Oops. Uh-oh. It'll come back. And 1,575 square feet. So they are large hangars if people want to put an aircraft in there, together with a workshop, which is what a lot of people want today. So just to show how good they were, I think the best aircraft on the airport's a 172, so I actually put the 172 in there, just to show, you know. So that's the 42-foot door hangars. Whoops. All right, and then those planes will also go into those other spaces where we've got 1,050 square feet. And this is the actual area, the total volume area of the hangar. So you've got 42-foot width door, you've got a 12-foot high door, you've got 18-foot wing depth as you push in, 14-foot for the tail, and a 21-foot tail width. So if we look at that, and then we move to the 48-foot doors, you can see there's 4, and split down again, larger, much larger areas, 1872 square feet, 2,088 square feet. So a nice Vision Jet or something like that, or your TBM, Paul, would go in there. And Eric Sheffields was in the meeting last night, so I said, Eric, just to honour you, I actually drew your SF50 out, and we put his SF50 in to show where it goes. So we had these, just to show the actual extent of the hangars and the available space for other stuff in there as a workshop. So moving forward again, the actual area, Paul, you'll love this, 14-foot door height, which is really good. I mean, I think we'd get a PC-12 in there, I believe.
What's the current FACT hangar door height?
I think you've got 12 feet. I think that's what we've got. I haven't looked, I honestly don't know, but I know mine's 12 feet. Exactly the same as and I think yours has got, mind you, they're all the same on length. They're all the big ones, aren't they, on your side, I believe? There's no small ones, right?
Right.
So I don't know. Maybe they're 14 feet. Honestly, don't know. But 1,390 square feet as the standard hangar. And this is the plan to move forward. So the white ones that you see there are the ones that will start, hopefully, commencing May the 1st. So you'll get those 6 hangars built, and then we'll move, maybe to the bottom of it where the red ones are. But that may not be, as you see here, we may put box hangars there depending on the requirement, because a number of people last night, well, I know one definitely said, no, I want a box hangar as well. So they want the T hangar as well as a box hangar. So, and the reason we can't build where the orange ones are and the blue ones are is because I was requested by Mayor Squalia to actually enable the Twin Towers exhibition to come to the airport. And that's a new exhibition that's going around North America at the moment, where all the remnants, remains and the story and everything comes in on a massive truck, sits down there, and there's enough space in front or so the top of the white ones where that exhibition can go, with the parking going up, the old area parking where the wings and wheels go. And that is there in, I believe, about September the 8th or 9th. So once that's out, then building can take place at that end as well. So that's the plan, the overall plan. I don't know if you've got any questions. Bob's the brains here. If you've got any questions, please ask. And that really was the end of the presentation.
On the box hangers, were you going to turn those as well?
There's no need to. There's only got one door on them.
So it doesn't matter, the sunlight?
No, they'll face the sun. They'll face the sun, yeah.
They'll face any direction except north.
Exactly. but, you know.
Peter kind of explained the issue to us. Makes so much sense.
Right.
And, yeah, you're loading, unloading planes from both sides of a building. Yeah, you want max on the sun. I get that. And
well, that was the first question that any of the potential buyers asked, is what were we going to do about the ice situation that happens in the winter? And we kind of looked at it and said, okay, well, we'll just turn the hangars and eliminate the issue.
And the second is, what's the difference between the ramp and the concrete lip on the pad? Because that is a dire situation in the FACT hangars.
Paul, I explained that last night.
2.5 inch difference.
It is
and a
because
7,000-pound aircraft can't jump 2 inches.
Who's got the twin up from you?
Oh, I know. Vadim.
And the other one?
Oh, that's Abram.
Yeah, Abram Dyer, right? I said to him, I said, look, I said, that's not typical for all the hangars. If you remember, 2 years ago, we had a flood there because a main burst underneath, and we had to get the water division down to repair it. So I honestly believe the water went through under there and now it's just falling down to where the hard is. And I think if that needs to be repaired, it's got to be repaired properly. You know, the hot top's got to come up. It's got to be re-ground, compacted, and then put the hot top back again. So, you know, but that's for the FACT. It's not our property, unfortunately. So,
Yeah.
or should I say, fortunately?
Right.
So,
What about, excuse me, so the doors on the north-south hangars are facing which direction? Oh, they're facing to the south. So go back, you had it. Oh, so the doors face in both directions.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
so
so
they-
what
they
about
come-
aircraft ramp access? Now you're really...
There you go. Now you can see.
So what about aircraft ramp access? An aircraft comes out of the buildings on the left-hand side.
Yeah.
They're not going to have access directly to 32 Alpha. Which way did the aircraft come around, and they come down the unnamed taxiway?
Yes.
Well, remember, that's not the final. That's the final one.
Yeah.
So they'll
okay.
come out and they'll come down and they'll join at the bottom. But when we get the other ones up, they can go up to the top because there's going to be another entrance at the top as well.
Got it. But I'm just trying to conceptualize, how is there adequate ramp to the left of the black polygon
Yes.
for a larger aircraft to maneuver down to this connector? Yeah.
To maneuver down to where, Paul?
So, okay, so you come out of one of the far left hangars.
Right.
And to get onto unnamed taxiway, you've got to go left and then left again.
Right.
But I'm just concerned about how much buffer is there for snow plowing and snow removal and aircraft maneuvering. You know, if you've got, in the alley between building the Bullock, formerly known as Bullock Hangar, and I guess what am I in building 18, even that is 4 times the width of that proposed alley there on the outside. And if my airplane is there, it's a traffic jam.
You've got 79 feet, I think, Bob, isn't it? You said last
Yeah,
night?
between the top hangars, there's 79 feet, and the bottom hangars, because they're a little bit narrower, there's 85 feet.
But I'm talking about the outside.
The outside, there's 49 feet,
To the left of the left.
to the left and to the right, yes.
My area of concern.
Right, yeah. Yeah, so as far as pavement, there's 49 feet of pavement, which allows for your wing clearance and the maximum or the design width for Category 1 aircraft.
And all that area there, Paul, the reason they're positioned where they are is because the snow will be pushed back up all the way to where the tree line is. That's the whole idea of putting them where they are. With the big loader. You know, the Alice Chalmers?
Yeah.
AC loader.
Is that the black area, or is that to scale?
It is, yes.
It isn't?
It is.
It is.
Everything's in accordance with the FAA regs.
Yeah,
Specs.
yeah. So, Bob, can I ask, the mix of hangar size, was that from customers' requests, or was that to fit them in this block?
It was from customer requests, because we had a lot that wanted 42s, and then we had others that were asking about 48s, and obviously we can't combine the two without it becoming an engineering nightmare.
Right.
So we decided that the simplest fact was just we'll do two separate designs, one's with 48s and one with 42s, because square footage wise, there's a pretty significant cost difference between the two, when you go from 1,050 square feet to 1,392. So, the people that are looking to, budget their hangar, they're not going to want to go up to a 48 just because it's got a little bit wider door, because the square footage alone is, kind of not a very good incentive for them,
Yes.
It doesn't matter which hangar you've got, a 48 or a 42, it's still $110 a square foot.
Right.
That's what the price is. Okay, so if you look at the top three, there's 12 48-foot hangars in there. And then on the bottom 3, there's 18. So that makes up your 30 of the first phase, all right? So, you know, I mean, you can see the difference. The maximum size there is 1575 square feet, whereas if you go to the larger ones, the 48, you're at 2,088 square feet. And even after that, people have already identified that they want those, but they want heating as well. And heating wasn't included in the specification. So now Bob's, in discussion, has decided to move into maybe 2 of the hangars are going to get heat and the rest aren't. And the people that want the heat will get the price accordingly. So it wasn't as simple as we thought it was going to be. We thought people, you know, didn't care about heat. I mean, there's a lot of hangars on there, T hangars, that don't have heat. So we just wanted to make it really, what's the word, exciting for people to move in, have their own T hangar. Doesn't matter about the heat, you know. But in the winter, those hangars, I had one without heat in it. It never dropped below 45 degrees. Never. No matter what the weather was. Never.
You're facing south.
No, it's facing north. I
facing
face south now.
Yeah, oh, okay, I've only seen
I
that
had the
one,
one
right.
behind it, Eric.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I had hangar 21.
So let me ask, where are you going to get the gas
It's all going to be
from?
electric.
What, I'm sorry?
It's all going to be electric.
It may be even solar panels on the roof to drive, you know, with water to bring it in. But this is all part of the development stage.
So
and
gas is not really feasible.
Yeah, no, gas isn't feasible for the T hangar development now.
Yeah.
Unless you got a propane. With tanks.
So
Yeah, I don't know.
would it go from an insulated hangar to a non-insulated hangar, or are they all insulated hangars?
They'll have insulated roofs. It'll be up to the individual if they want to insulate the walls. The doors will be insulated as well, but it'll be up to them if they want to, you know, build the whole thing out with insulation.
So all the doors on all the hangars will be insulated?
Yes.
And all the roofs on all the hangars will be insulated?
Yes.
So the heated units, and more than likely they'll opt to have the walls,
Right.
Yeah.
you know, insulated.
So this is the proposal, guys, and I think Mr. Montana is waiting for approval from you guys to move ahead and get planning approval and city approval and everything else. So,
All right, I got one more grenade. Let's talk about the land lease.
Okay.
5 years.
You know, you got a lot of space between these hangars. You got a small, I don't know if you call it a taxiway. I guess you would, a
Taxi
taxiway
lane, yeah.
from this block over to the taxi. Are they both taxiways?
that's the taxiway, the other one's a taxi lane.
Taxi lane, okay. What do you plan on leasing, and who is going to plow this? And is it going to work like the FACT lease is currently? And then when you move north to the box hangars, how is that going to affect the lease or the development?
Well, what we're envisioning now is it'll be very similar to how FACT is now. So we'll have the lease square footage for the entire section, plus the addition, whatever the additional fee is for snow removal and weeding or whatever it is. When we move to the next phase, that'll be a separate lease, unless we wanted to include in the first one, you know, an addendum to, you know, expand the square footage in the same lease. That's entirely up to, you know, the city how they want to address that. Or if we want to do a separate lease for that, that's fine.
I don't think you want to end up with multiple condominium associations, right? You
Right.
probably want to end up with one.
Right.
for sanity.
One here, but this will be FAC too, basically.
Yeah, I understand, but to the point of if they're controlled by separate leases, you want one condominium association for this entire phases,
Right.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, however many ends up being.
Right.
And so probably that should be recognized in the lease.
Do you anticipate these 6 hangars to be economically feasible, I guess you could say, without the addition of the box hangars? Or do you want us to set aside land above these hangars specifically for you? And if you do, for how long?
I would like the area above it allocated to us for T hangars. So from everything from what you're showing here, north is going to be T hangars. The box hangars won't be developed. They'll be developed farther to the south, closer to the main runway. Whether they're developed where those red ones are now or farther south, that's to be determined, depending on the environmental study to what it's going to take to get those in there, because that's going to be more of a challenge than doing the
Just
T
remember
hangars.
that the box hangars are much higher than these, so as we get closer to the runway, then the FAA says you can't go, above that glide slope. So it's better to get them in where they are than come further down, to be honest. So
Down towards the
yeah.
I guess
Further away from the runway and the runway threshold protection zone. Yeah.
Right.
The point of my question is that the FAA frowns on us setting aside land for, I'll call it speculation.
Yep.
So I guess I need to know is if you don't get that land above the 6 white boxes, is that an issue for you? And again, we're definitely ready to work with you.
Right.
But you can't hang on to that land really, you can't hang on to it for more than 2 years. And
I wouldn't.
That's stretching it.
I wouldn't even imagine it would be that long. I mean, the only thing that's halting that process now is the fact that Peter has that area already committed through September, October, whatever, next year. So, so that would halt it at that point. As soon as that area is cleared, development would start back up. Because we already have, what do we have, 39 people on the list?
39.
So we already have at least 9 people waiting for phase 2. So
And the other thing I might just point out, the FAA have approved this in principle.
Understood. But
No, I understand your
I don't want
question.
to, because we said, you can build above there, and you hang on to that thing for 5 more years before anything happens, that's not going to work. So
Right.
we're likely going to put a time cap on that property above the 6 hangars.
And that could be written into the lease.
I mean, it may be empty for 10 more years. I don't know.
right.
But please remember, if we do, it must start after September, because I'm holding that property for the airport, not for...
I'm sorry?
I'm holding that land for the airport. And if anything's going to be put onto Rocking Horse Enterprises, it must start September the 1st. Maybe the end of September, because that's when we need that land area for the new towers exhibition, memorial.
I mean, is that something?
I get that.
Right.
Yeah.
Is that something you could put into the initial lease, add a stipulation on it, requiring confirmation and approval of the additional buildings by a certain date?
I think it would be wise to consult with Matt as to how this is going.
You mean...
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Where are the tenants parking and having their, how are they getting to those hangars?
Well, if you heard
Is there
earlier...
a designated area off to the side for them to park? Or are they going to be parking right within the taxiway and the driveways and...
Well, normally what happens is, and Paul will verify this, when people come and take their planes out, they put the cars into the hangar. If they're working on their planes, they put the cars into the hangar and close the door because there's enough room.
Standard practice.
You know,
We don't have to designate-
Yeah, so if you look at the FACT hangars, the three to the right that run east-west, you almost never see cars parked anywhere near them, and it's amazing, even though there's ample parking. You might see one or two on the end caps.
Yeah.
They shouldn't be there, but very rarely. It's because people put their car inside. It's super easy.
So we don't have to designate an area for them.
It's not non-issue, I would think.
We're hopefully going to get a designation for them to come into those hangars, and that's going to come off Cobbler Drive that I mentioned earlier for the fence to have electronic gates there as well.
If you come down Blueberry Lane, there's a set of gates there.
Well, that's Cobbler Drive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
That would be
So we own
ideal
that.
access for this.
Right.
We maintain that driveway and that.
Oh, yeah, we do.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Do you have a laser pointer, Peter?
Yes.
Can I borrow
But
it?
you can't use it on there because it goes straight into the screen. You can borrow it, by all means. I will let you. Look. Watch.
Oh, that's awesome. It's the non-laser laser. Yeah, wowzers. So we need a big stick. Wait, can I stand on your shoulders?
You need like a chalkboard, remember?
No, this is what I used. You know.
The only two quick observations I would make, and I think the parking one's a good one, and these are totally on the developer, so this is not prescriptive, but they're just food for thought, right? So, you know, any of the box hangers, if the target audience is perhaps corporate or light corporate or high net worth individual, they're going to want to heat those hangars. It's almost like a non-option. I would not buy a non-heated hangar in New England with a turbine airplane. So Unitil has the highest electric cost in the state with no end in sight. And those will be eye-watering bills to anybody that knows the area. The building that I'm in on the FACT hangars, that very last building, which is only, 80 feet away, has gas. So it's on the developer for the additional cost, but I would suggest that anybody with a turbine airplane is going to want heated. Electric heat in Fitchburg is an issue because of the utility provider, and gas is perilously close there. So that's just one consideration. The other is that the unnamed taxiway that runs up past, formerly known as Bullock Hangar, past the Fitchburg condominium, whatever, FPA Co-op, that is unsuitable for passage by turbofan or turboprop aircraft. That, I don't know, is that part of the Apron improvement all the way down there? It will be, because right now that I would not take an expensive airplane down there. It's rough. It's really rough. So that is a consideration.
I mean, hopefully they're going to be this side of the red port, you know? It'll either be where the box hangers are, where the red is, or this side of the red, down.
Yeah, I understand, but if you're in the orange phase fours,
Right.
you're not going to thread the alley in a Citation Mustang all the way down.
Yeah, this representation isn't to scale. This is just to show phases.
I get it. You want to go down on the unnamed taxiway and bang a left
Right.
to those bigger box hangers. That's the way you would want to do it.
Yeah. I mean, that's showing what phase 4 at the top there, right?
Right.
The orange ones are. They're not box hangers. They are going to be T hangers.
Yeah, those would be T hangers.
Oh, sure.
Because we tried to design with box hangers up top, and to put the box hangers up top, we had to design the whole thing to Category 2 aircraft, and it created so many problems with the required spacing and what have you, that it pushed everything way too far to the left to make it
And you get
functional, and then you have all this dead space that you can't use because you
and
want to
asphalt temperature, wheel, weight on wheel considerations, like you get airplanes sink into the ramp in the hot day, that kind of nonsense.
I mean, the good thing is, as you come this way, it does get wider. So it's the ideal place to put the box hangers.
Yeah, I think
You
it
know?
works out pretty good this way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Gale Associates was involved with this as well, right?
Not so much this, I mean, we're contracted with them now to do the actual site schematic of what we want to do.
Okay.
So,
So is the required motion that the commission approves proceeding with Rocking Horse Enterprises to work with Gale on a preliminary site review schematic and then come back with more of a finished, polished site plan?
That's fine.
So I would make that motion.
Absolutely fine.
I'll second that.
I second that. Oh, I'm sorry, Eric. You
You third it.
I thirded it. So let's have a vote, because there is a motion on the floor, so.
All right. Good luck to you.
thank you, gentlemen.
It'll be a great asset for the airport.
Can I pull out? Thank you. Thanks, Bob.
Yeah, Bob, thank you very much for,
What's your projection on fuel sale uptick, Peter?
I'm sorry?
What's your projection on fuel sales uptick from this increased number of based aircraft?
It's going to double.
So that's huge.
Need a bigger tank.
Means lower prices.
No, it doesn't. It means higher prices because there'll be more demand.
Foiled again.
yeah, don't you watch the news?
Unfortunately, I do watch them. Much to my peril.
No, this is really good news.
Thank you, sir.
Are you going to provide internet out there, Bob?
No.
That was discussed last night. That'll be part of the FACT condominium number 2. That was
Put a
actually
Starlink dish on the side of the building. Charge everybody. It's not
Well,
bulletproof.
You know,
It's bulletproof.
Yeah. Well, we're looking for a condominium association to be formed, to be exactly the same as FACT at the moment.
What you need to do is run a LAN wire to each hangar. You're done. Get
Yeah,
a router.
you could. You could.
yeah, never tell your tenants no. Just tell them how much.
Well, they'll find a way. They will find a way. You might as well charge them for it.
Yeah.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
Thank you, Peter.
You're welcome.
Item F, Crawford Street safety update. Well, I noticed the guardrails today coming in.
Very pretty.
It was pretty sweet to see.
Great job, Peter.
Thank you. I'm so pleased.
It's a big deal.
It really is.
I drove there, I was like, looky.
Haven't gone.
I wanted to drive into them just to see. I refrained.
Reserved for teenagers.
Yeah.
You do that kind of testing.
Yeah, I went by the other day looking, and I didn't see nothing. I was disappointed.
Yeah.
Oh, they did.
Glad to see this.
I came in from the Leominster side this afternoon, and I'm like, all right.
It's like a real road now.
It does.
Nice.
Dangerous curve. Yeah, that's been.
Well, you get that fence up, and it'll stay a fence.
Yeah.
So you weren't driving at the same time you took these pictures,
I
were you,
certainly
Peter?
was. I certainly was, but I didn't hit the rail.
Yeah, that's good.
Did I give you 3, Rich?
That's great.
Did I give you 3 or 2?
2.
Beautiful.
That's the second curve. That's the first curve. There you go.
How many are there?
There's 3 sections.
Oh, I only got 2.
Oh, did I only give you 2? Sorry, Eric.
They all look the same.
Well, they're not.
It's a Jeep, a windshield,
I got the
guardrail.
amp
He
one.
doesn't have any ducks on his
I don't have that one, no.
Yeah, kind of
People are
disappointing.
into the duck thing now.
I was driving, actually.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I had trucks behind me and I didn't
Probably
want to
see them
pull over.
floating in the Nashua River.
Law enforcement was behind.
Just say it was a dash cam.
Yeah, so I think in all honesty, it should be noted that we owe a big thanks to Commissioner Erickson
Yeah.
for doing a fantastic job and getting this done on Chapter 90.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Really do.
Yeah.
So
And
if
very
we just minute that.
expeditiously.
Is that project completed?
I know.
It will be by the end of maybe next week.
Okay.
I think there are like
They
3
just-
or 4 more sections.
Yeah, there is. They're just waiting for the steel.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah. Yeah.
The weather's going to get cold next week, too, but
Oh, it's brilliant.
they got, I'd say 90% of it already done. Oh, that's
Right.
great.
Oh, it looks magic.
Well, he exceeded expectations. I agree with Peter.
Yeah.
Thank him. It's going to save tens of thousands of dollars of repairs of this $1.7 million fence.
Absolutely right.
Because it gets trashed every
Yeah.
winter.
Yeah. I mean, the the FAA were really pleased to hear that we were doing that, Matt, weren't they, when we had our previous meeting? Yeah. So, especially Owen Silver.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's the principal engineer at MassDevelopment.
Yeah.
Really pleased.
Awesome.
Hey, we make things happen here at Fitchburg Airport.
Apparently.
Item G, after-hours bathroom facility. Oh, this is not over yet.
You've already made a decision on that, haven't you? Right? That's being held until next week, next meeting.
Okay.
And, you know, in the interim, do you want to have a conversation with Daniel to the effect of what we discussed this evening?
It'll be minuted. It will be minuted.
Yeah.
It's in the minutes. I mean,
I wish, I'm sure Daniel wished he was here this evening, so,
but just something, can I add a comment there? The
yes,
cheapest price was $90 a month. 90.
yeah.
So then
And that was Blue Towers or something,
Right.
but $90.
It would be a huge add.
Yeah.
And the FACT group has already agreed to go in with the Pilots Association and joint,
I believe Mark and Daniel had some kind of concordance about that, yes.
so they're going to do
It
a
was-
joint effort to do
It was
this.
sort of a rounding error, and I know that the FACT members had voted to approve the additional expenditure at their last meeting. I did not participate, but they said, yes, that makes lots of sense.
Okay.
So if those two organizations are willing to take the burden for that, I think all's fair. It's about the same amount of money.
Okay. We're going to, we'll leave that on the agenda until we find, get something final out of. FPA Santa Fly In was,
Santa didn't make it.
unfortunately, didn't happen.
No?
Peter, can you elaborate? I mean, I'm not sure what happened either.
I can. The fire department, as well as the planning board, came down and checked out the doors and everything, and basically 2 of the 3 fire extinguishers are out of date. So they would not issue a permit to have a number of people in that hangar. So it was cancelled.
Were they dressed as the Grinch at the time this happened?
What, sorry?
Were they dressed as the Grinch at the time?
Yeah, I think they might have been, Paul. But I mean, they did try.
Couldn't they have stationed a fire responder there for the duration of the event holding a fire extinguisher?
Well, Daniel
They couldn't get them. That was the biggest problem.
Daniel said they had to call into Logan.
They went to Logan to see if they could get them. And, basically the answer was no. So, and they're still waiting for them now. I spoke to Daniel because we were having the meeting that we had last night with Bob. I was going to go into the FBA hangar because they've got a nice big screen and everything and it's warm. And they said, Peter, you can't because we don't have the fire extinguishers yet. So that's why I reverted back into, we had it in the foyer last night of the admin building.
Oh, yeah.
But it worked out really well, Bob, didn't it?
It was cozy.
It's, when you take everything out there, there's a lot of space.
Yeah.
There really is. And I covered up there was 2 plaques there, one that said gents toilets and the other one over here where the thermostat was. I covered those with white paper and you couldn't even tell they were there when I put the projection up.
Yeah,
So
that's good.
it worked out well.
So I assume that the fire extinguishers have to have special ratings for aeronautical use.
They do.
Yeah. So they couldn't just go to Home Depot and buy something.
No,
Yeah.
no. But Paul, you can expand on that because you know about them, don't you? You told me about them, the specs.
No, I just know if they're rated for fuel fires as opposed to paper, they'll have the A, B, C, D, E rating, whatever.
Right,
But
right.
I was rather surprised that there was not a creative solution from the fire department.
Yeah, no, they just, nope.
That type of facility should have had a company,
Oh, you were the man, of course.
it should have had a company come in that monitored their fire extinguishers, and annually they would inspect them change the tags, and keep them updated. So whether you have Liberty.
That's who it was.
Yeah, Liberty would come in, and they do an annual inspection. It's always set in a computer database. They know exactly when to do it, so that these issues would have never come up. But obviously, you've got to pay your bill, and you've got to keep in good contact with them to make sure that the contract is ongoing. And, that would be one of the first things the fire department would look at is how many people are coming in, and is all your fire protection up to date? And if it's not, they won't allow it.
Do we have a clause in the minimum standards or anything like that that requires?
Clause.
Yeah, not that clause. as to stipulate the requirement for having fire extinguishers in hangars, for example, or accessible.
It's part of the occupancy permit with the city. So
Okay.
when you occupy a building, they're going to tell you what kind of fire protection you have. Usually it goes by square footage, whether you need sprinklers or just fire extinguishers, and they're going to tell you where they want to put them. And if you're going to have heat and smoke detectors, they're going to design that and tell you where they should be.
So that's a
it's all in
requirement?
their design, so that you're already set, ready to rock and roll. To occupy your building, it's going to be functioning as you perceived it to be. And your fire protection shouldn't be ever a question, other than if it's a big facility, the fire department would come in annually to check it. They come in to the fire station, to the terminal, and inspect once a year.
But I'm talking about even hangars like we're talking about here, T-hangars and things like that. Do those get inspected or looked at? Is there a requirement for them to have any sort of fire protection or extinguishers available within a certain distance, or?
No, it's odd, though, that the FACT hangars were built with a fire suppression system. It's
Okay.
like a dry type, I think.
Yeah.
And I think the proposed Bob's new hangars will not have a fire suppression system, if that's correct. So it's all over the map. It depends on the size of the complete footprint of the structure.
Okay, so there's no FAA requirement or city
All
requirement?
goes on the footprint size,
It's local.
how big.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
I think
The
the
egress,
FACT
everything goes
buildings
on
were
how
big
big the
enough
building is.
that they had to have a centralized fire suppression system, which has been a
All
huge
of our hangars
nightmare.
that are owned by the airport or the city have got fire extinguishers in them. And Liberty actually do those for us. In fact, they were here the week before last, taking them away, refilling them, bringing them back again.
They do the T hangars themselves have Liberty?
No, they have a suppression system.
Yeah, they have the dry system in the hangars.
Right.
But like on your particular hangar, you have your own extinguisher that you provide, or is that provided by Liberty?
What do you mean, my hangar?
The-
Hangar 11?
Yeah.
That I have?
Yeah, your hangar 21.
No, I have my own.
You have your own.
Yes.
You're responsible for your own.
Not responsible, but I'm going to put one in there. in
Oh,
any
no,
case, because
that's
it's
what I'm
my
saying.
plane,
Yeah,
you
because
know,
I didn't
so-
think that every T hangar came with it. That'd be the responsibility of the owner to have that. But the fire suppression system in a bigger facility is already set in part of the planning.
Well, yeah, in all of our hangars, all the big hangars we've
Yeah.
got, they've all got one at each door, every single one. So, but I mean, I'm sure Paul's got one in his aircraft, like I've got one in my aircraft. You carry one with you.
I don't know how long it would last.
Sorry?
I don't know how long it would last.
No, that's true.
And you're in a confined
That's true.
space.
That's true.
Long enough for you to get out. That's,
Oh, not at 31,000 feet.
no, yeah.
True.
Oh, we're not going to go into those details.
Rarely ever happens.
Yeah.
Well, that's too bad they didn't have that event.
Yes, it is. Had they applied for these permits months in advance, maybe they could have avoided this. Had they had their fire extinguisher inspection just 30 days ago, maybe they could have avoided it, but it was just,
Liberty would have done it in a day for them.
they're still waiting on fire extinguishers now, so we don't know what's going on. All right, well, all right. We're going to move on. Financial review, approval of commitments and abatements.
None this month.
Do we know if anybody owes us money?
Yeah, we do.
Okay.
It's been taken care of.
All right.
Thank you.
I know that.
It's quite funny. I'll tell you something about the Hilton Hotel Doubletree actually pays us rent. but their hotel isn't on our property. But their large sign is on our property. So they got a new manager, and the new manager cancelled the agreement. So I said, okay. I said, I'm surprised. So I said, okay. So about 2 days afterwards, the assistant manager came down and said, can I see where this sign is in the airport that advertises the Hilton? I said, look, we're not like a Logan. We don't have cars taking people to your hotel. I said, the sign is on not Bemis Road, where the traffic lights are. At the
Water Street.
Sorry?
Water Street?
No.
Route
no.
12?
No.
Not Benson.
Oh, L something way?
Erdman Way.
Erdman. Yeah.
Erdman Way. He said, it is. I said, yeah, it's enormous. And it really is. It's a massive sign. So he said, okay, thank you. And he called me back. He said, we're not cancelling. We're not cancelling. So
What do they charge? What do they pay per month?
it's something like $400 a month.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the real money.
Yeah. And even BJ's, they pay us.
Yeah.
And they
Price
pay,
just went up.
they pay like 5 years in advance. You know?
People.
So that little piece of property there
That's remarkable.
brings us some money.
Anybody else want to sign?
Well, we can
Put up some more tower lights.
I think the price just went up.
Executive, sorry, everybody good? No?
We're good.
Executive session, not tonight. Date and time of next regular meeting is January 15th, 2025, next year.
Yeah.
We're going to take a roll call to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, second it.
Yeah, nice. I'm ready to be done.
Aye.
Good meeting.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
49.
Meeting. I had to tell